I'm not gonna lie, man. The NFL preseason is in full effect, and I'm seeing some crazy stuff.
You got T-Law throwing
Teddy.
I don't think he threw a touchdown. I think the only rookie that really threw a touchdown was it was Trey Lance, Justin
Fields. I don't think Zach Wilson threw one.
No, he didn't.
Dude, Jordan Love, man. I know you're a Packers fan, so I got to bring it. He threw a dart, and he looks good. He looks really polished. I guess that's what happens when you sit behind MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers, possibly the greatest skill set of a quarterback of all time. You know, with
I mean, for his first like in-game action since college?
Yeah.
Since his bowl game, he did pretty good. No
preseason last year, so this was really his
no preseason last year.
And they obviously
Rodgers was actually healthy.
Yeah, they obviously didn't need him last year with the MVP on the field under snap 319. You know what I'm saying?
319.
So
we might have needed him. Hey, throw Jordan Love at corner.
Yeah.
Place Kevin King.
I could see why the Packers aren't too fond on whether Aaron wants to leave or not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would not want Aaron Rodgers to leave my team until he is riding into the sunset, especially because I think he's still kind of young. He's not that old yet. So he still has some years ahead of him. But dude, every quarterback looks great. I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of those people that said I didn't trust in Justin Fields, but he looked fantastic. And I even said after the draft I thought he would shine the most because he plays for the Bears, and the Bears are a good team that are literally a quarterback away from being possibly a Super Bowl contender. I don't know if that's possible with the Super Bucks, that's going on in Tampa, the super team we got building in Tampa. So,
well, another rookie quarterback was it was Trey Lance. I was very high on him. I don't think I knew anyone else that was high on Trey Lance.
Yeah.
But I was very high on Trey Lance, and he's proven that he might be a starting quarterback.
Trey Lance was last on my list. I regret that heavily because he looked so good.
I was very high on Trey Lance.
He looked so good, and I know Jimmy Garoppolo is like shedding slight tears because he might be traded.
They were clowning that man after Trey Lance's second throw. They're like, Jimmy Graham hasn't thrown a pass over 76 yards in his whole career. Trey Lance on his second pass threw 80 yards.
Yeah. It's crazy because I remember in our video we literally said that every one of these quarterbacks has a potential ability to start week one. Yes. And they all might end up starting. Mac Jones is going to be probably the odd man out. Probably Trey Lance as well.
If you thought Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Josh Rosen, that class was talented going into the draft, this honestly to me looked like when I was going to the draft, this was going to be one of the better quarterback drafts.
This looks like at least four franchise quarterbacks. I'm still skeptical on Mac Jones, even though he looked good. He had a dart that was dropped, but he looked pretty decent. He looks a bit scared.
Well, I remember what you're talking about. He dropped that John right in the
he dropped it. It was beautiful.
It was,
and he dropped it, or maybe it was just slightly good enough coverage, man. You know what I mean? I don't know, but
who knows?
This looks like 4 franchise quarterbacks at least out of the 5 guys. We'll see where Kyle Trask is because I don't think we've seen him yet. But if we have, he's been low key. And I know Jacob Eason, that Georgia guy, is looking good. But
and that's a couple of them are on good teams. Like we could easily see a rookie quarterback in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, Trey Lance,
Justin Fields, Trey Lance,
Justin Fields.
Those are 2 you can easily see.
The Jaguars still need a lot of pieces. The Jets need.
They still need a lot of
pieces. And
Jets just need Jesus.
Jets need to start praying. They got a new coach, but they still need to they need to throw up prayers. And I sent you that post about Elijah Moore. It's so crazy how big we were on him when he was a 3-star wide receiver.
We were
committed to the University of Georgia.
It was basically your dorm room, basically.
Yes.
And we were sitting there at your table, and you were like, man, there's this wide receiver that Georgia's looking at. He's going to be at that All-American game we're going to. I was like, who is he? He was like, Elijah Moore. We pulled up the tape, and I was like, ooh, his routes are crispy.
It was because I was watching that Rivals or Under Armour, whatever it was.
You were watching the one-on-ones.
I was like, dude, this wide receiver's a dog. I got to see where he's going. And I saw that he was committed to Georgia, and I was like, bro, that is the greatest thing because this guy is going to be a dog. I said that him and Amon-Ra St. Brown were going to be dogs. Remember Amon St. Brown? He was in that video as well, cooking dudes up. But Elijah Moore's route running just looked different at that stage as a 3-star wide receiver. And
you can even look back at the podcast that we recorded like a year ago. We would say that we regretted Tommy Bush over Elijah Moore. Yeah. And you're seeing it now as present day. It was Odell saying that this guy's dangerous. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't deny the facts.
Those rookies are looking absolutely fantastic. But let's talk about the guys still in college.
College football.
College football. This is college football segment. I got some NFL content dropping soon, so just be on the lookout for that. We'll probably wrap up the whole preseason thoughts on pretty much a lot of players and just give some thoughts to it. But for right now, man, let's talk about Wisconsin here on the Sports Junkies Podcast. Welcome back, guys. If you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe today. We got some good content dropping for you. Cameron, let's talk about Wisconsin, man. What's going on with this team, Wisconsin? Because they're a team that you look at. I look at, like I told you this before we started recording. Wisconsin is like Georgia. I think they're clearly the second best team in the Big Ten. They don't recruit as good as Georgia. They don't have a roster as good as Georgia, but Wisconsin is kind of, I feel like, at a stagnant maybe. I don't think really they're getting better, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're getting worse either, because they're clearly not. They just played in the Rose Bowl. They lost to a very good Oregon team. Big Ten champion. Yeah, they made it to the Big Ten championship multiple times, but then you got Ohio State, and it's like Georgia dominating and getting to the SEC championship where they have to face Bama. You know what I'm saying? So I think Wisconsin's is at that same statement, that same point where they just need to get past Ohio State, as where Georgia needs to get past Alabama. So Wisconsin's got a lot of building to do when we talk about, trying to reach those levels, because it's going to take a lot more than Graham Mertz.
Yeah. Everyone's always had their eye on Wisconsin, and they're not a huge school. Like I was telling you earlier, they're not a huge school. They're not the Ohio States, the Alabamas, but they're a great school. Like they're like an A-tier program, and it's like they've had Monty Ball, Melvin Gordon. Everybody's had their eyes on Wisconsin. Yeah. But now stepping in, Graham Mertz, people were saying right before he started that he could be the next Russell Wilson for the team. He was the most hyped prospect for them since Russell Wilson.
Oh wow.
And then they go in. He plays amazing, and then he tests positive. So then they get the next 2 games canceled. They finish 4-3. Sucks to suck. But, I mean, like you were saying, they can easily take over the Big Ten if they can get recruiting down and not have those losses like Georgia does. Georgia always loses a game they shouldn't lose. Wisconsin loses games they shouldn't lose. I mean, like you said, they always make it to New Year's Bowls. And if they don't make it to New Year's Bowls, they make it to the bowls that come right before New Year's that are still big bowl games. And, I mean, Wisconsin could easily, I don't want to say easily because Ohio State's there, but they could make the Big Ten championship if they put, I'm not saying more effort in recruiting, but if they got recruiting down to the wire where they were steady with it, consistent 4 stars, consistent 5 stars, and 3 stars coming in that were really good players.
Well, I think the problem with recruiting, you got to look at the fact that they're up north. So, is Wisconsin really a pipeline state?
Players don't
talent?
Want to play in the cold.
Yeah, and it's not even really. It might not even be that. I mean, it could be a lot when you think about it. The teams that are good, they usually play in warmer areas.
That's the thing for recruiting in the north.
Yeah, but
is the I'm not saying the pipeline states, but the big states are California, Texas, Florida, Georgia. Those teams or those states.
Right, but when you look
those
at
states are used to
the North
weather.
itself, we can't pretend like the North doesn't put out talent when we talk about high school recruits, because there's a lot of guys that come from the North that are great recruits. But the sad part about it is they'll say, okay, let me go to Ohio State, or they go down south, or they go to the West, or they go to Oklahoma, and I see Wisconsin losing out on a lot of battles. Like I was telling you, in their recruiting class last year, their best offensive skill position player is a 3-star wide receiver. That's not going to cut it if you're trying to reach Ohio State's level, because Ohio State is getting better and better and better every season, just like Alabama is getting better and better and better every season. So as where I said Wisconsin feels like they're staying the same team, Wisconsin's just continually leaping over you. So Wisconsin being the second best team in the Big Ten, yeah, it's crazy, but it's not going to get you anywhere, because...
And that's another thing, is that you are the second best team talent-wise.
Yeah.
But recruiting-wise, I feel like Michigan is over
getting
better recruits than them.
And it's crazy because you can see that.
But Michigan's not playing as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the player development that these recruits need to realize that is coming from Wisconsin. Because Wisconsin's doing this as a second best team with, like you said, those 3 stars that are their best recruits. When you're looking at Georgia, Ohio State, Bama, Oklahoma, that their best recruit is a top 20 player in the nation.
Yeah.
So you gotta, if you're a recruit, honestly, I'm being 100% honest. If you are a recruit in the North and you are getting those recruiting scholarships from teams down south, and Wisconsin offers you a scholarship, look at the players that they've sent to the NFL here recently, and look at yourself. And if you feel like Wisconsin can develop you, which I'm sure they can, because look at what they're doing with 3 stars. Wisconsin is a great school for 4 and 5 stars to go to. And if they can get, like I said, their recruiting down packed and down to the wire how they want it, this team can be dangerous.
And another thing to look at is the NIL now. Can the NIL benefit recruits going to Wisconsin in any way, shape, or form?
When we were doing research on this Wisconsin team, I looked up Graham Mertz because I knew he got COVID or got tested positive or something, like, I know.
Okay.
And I was like, Graham Mertz, because I remember I was like, is it Graham Mertz or Graham Hurts? I was like, it's Graham Mertz.
Oh my God, I know where you're
and
going
then I
with
looked
this.
it up, and it was like the NIL news for Wisconsin, and it was like, is it Graham Mertz or Graham Merch? And I was like, that is the corniest thing I've ever seen.
I thought you were gonna say Graham Hurts, like Hurts ketchup. Oh no, that's Heinz. I'm trolling.
That's hot.
I'm trolling. I'm a Steelers fan. I can't be doing that.
Trolling.
But how big, when we talk about the NIL doing great for teams, how much can it benefit Wisconsin? Wisconsin plays on the national spotlight multiple games a year, so it's not like they're not gonna. It's not like you're not getting a national spotlight. So these guys have chances to build their brand. At Wisconsin, I think most Wisconsin recruits, you should be keeping them. You should be keeping them around. You should be keeping them in Wisconsin. JP, for example, the offensive tackle they got last year, keeping him in Wisconsin. That was their second best recruit. You guys, those guys around Minnesota, Ohio State. How can we convince these guys that Wisconsin is the place to be? And I think Paul Chryst has been the head coach at Wisconsin for a while. Don't get me wrong. Paul Chryst is pretty much Georgia's Mark Rich. Yeah. He's pretty much that. Mark Rich could never get Georgia to be the best team in the SEC. He got us. I'm so close to potentially a national championship. If Chris Conley wouldn't have caught that ball for some reason, I don't know what he was thinking, but that was a loss to Bama. Would you believe it? But it's I think Paul Chryst hasn't really gotten. Has Wisconsin made the playoffs? Did they make it one year, or am I?
No, okay. I don't think so. No.
They haven't made the playoffs, and making the playoffs is a hard thing to do. Like I said, I never expected Georgia to make it, but Georgia has taken huge leaps forward with Kirby Smart. But I think he's not doing really a good job with recruiting, and I think he's got to do a lot better. I think Wisconsin, if things continue to stay this way, and they don't need to just continue to plunge this team into a hole, because actually, maybe. Who knows? Because I know they were talking about expanding the college football playoff to 12 games. That would work for Wisconsin. They would have a shot. But you need to get we see now where the NCAA is turning when we talk about strengths of teams and how good teams need to be to succeed. And Paul Chryst isn't going to be able to get Wisconsin there. They had Jonathan Taylor. That was great offensive, weaponry. They got Graham Mertz now, but you really need to shape this offense into a 40 points per game team if you think you have a shot at even winning a national championship. Look at all the past teams that have won the national championship. It's all offense. 40 points per game. You need it. If you don't have it, it won't work in the NCAA. Now, the NFL defense might still do you some wonders, but and even in the NFL, it's slowly transforming to offense. You can see that. But Wisconsin right now is just kind of like a standard team. They're getting some pretty good recruits. They got 1 5-star last year in Nolan Rucci, offensive tackle. They got him from Pennsylvania, so they stole him from Penn State. But that's maybe not going to cut it.
I feel like a big thing for recruiting nowadays, taking a step back what you said on the NIL, a big thing for recruiting now is obvious. It's going to be the NIL.
Yeah.
And you said that Wisconsin does have big games, which is the truth. They played in the Rose Bowl. They played in the Big Ten Championship.
Mm-hmm.
But if we really want to look back at Wisconsin on the regular season, you don't really see those big games from Wisconsin. Like, it's not like they don't play good. It's like they don't have the national spotlight on them.
Right.
Most time whenever I see Wisconsin, it's an evening game. It's never really a late game, in which is basically prime time, where you don't see them playing. You see Clemson playing a Pittsburgh team that's obviously going to get beat, but they're still playing in prime time on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
And Wisconsin, like, I think it was me and you watching it one time. It was like not that long ago. I think it was the 2019 season. Minnesota was really good. Wisconsin was really good. They're playing for the Big Ten championship game. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest game I've seen Wisconsin play on national TV, other than that Rose Bowl and that Big Ten championship. That was a huge game that season because Minnesota was coming out of nowhere. Wisconsin was playing for a chance in the bit. Both of them were playing for a chance for a conference championship game. Yeah. So obviously it was nationally televised, but you know.
And what's even crazier is
us being in Georgia, and that's a Minnesota and Wisconsin team playing. So I mean, they don't really get that national spotlight like Ohio State, and I feel like for them to do that, like you said, they're gonna have to develop their team into a big scoring team because that's what the NCAA is. It's an offensive game, and if you can, offense brings the crowd. Right, that's been a saying this whole time. Offense brings the crowd while defense wins the game. Defense wins championship. Offense brings crowd. Whatever. Offense is winning championships and bringing the crowd now. Yeah. The biggest player in the NFL is an offense player. Mm-hmm. The biggest player in college football I think it's an offense player too. It might be a defense. Derek Stingley's really good.
No.
But I mean,
still. No.
Who's the big player in college football?
Biggest player in college football right now. It's not Derek Stingley.
Spencer Rattler.
Honestly, it could be a defensive player, but honestly, if anything, I like Stingley, and I know Stingley is the best defensive player in college football right now. I think maybe because you're forgetting about Kayvon Thibodeau. He's pretty good, but I think when we look at
those are big teams that have those big players, and they got NIL deals. So, I mean, I really feel like what you said, they need to develop into a 40-point-per-game team to get these offensive player recruits in, to develop them, because then whenever the NCAA is like, this team's scoring 40 points a game, that's going to be some good watch rating, because people want to see teams score. Right. They don't want to see these 7-0 games. Mm-hmm. They want to see 49-42. The biggest game in NFL history these past couple of years was the game from the Rams and the Chiefs when they scored like 100 and something points.
Monday Night Football. Yep.
I still see that in my YouTube recommended, and I don't want to watch the full game. I'm just being honest. Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. It's turned to an offensive game. Get the offensive players, then you'll get on national TV, and then you'll get the defensive players.
Yeah. So I think it starts with recruiting with Wisconsin. We need to see some better players, and I think you're right with Spencer Rattler. I think right now Spencer Rattler is because I think he's gonna be the first overall pick, Spencer Rattler. So it's I'm not trying to discredit defense, because I think defense is important. And that's one of the reasons why, I know I'm a Georgia fan, so it sounds like, bada boo, bada beat, but that's why I'm sort of leaning towards Georgia being dominant this year, because we know they have those offensive pieces with a full offseason spring training. And we know how dominant those defensive players are.
If you want to be honest, that's why Clemson is dominant every year. They have the offense and the defense.
And Clemson is bringing back all their I think it was 80% of their starters on defense from last year.
Yes.
With them bringing back DJ, who we know is a great quarterback. They lost to Notre Dame, but we saw them work some magic. We saw him work magic.
And I was like, that was his first start. Game, wasn't it?
Yes, and I think he threw 5 touchdowns.
And they went to overtime?
Yes, and they lost, But I think Trevor Lawrence plays, they lose that as well, because DJ can't really play better than he played. He played a phenomenal game. Mm-hmm. I don't think he threw any interceptions. I think it just came to Notre Dame being ready. And like the memes have been recently, they just wanted it more. Notre Dame just wanted it more. Have you seen those memes? They've been pretty funny.
No,
so there's a meme going around on Twitter where the coach will say, it's like the coach will always tell you they wanted it more, but guys would be like, bro, nah, they were just better than us. And then there was a picture that ESPN posted where it was like a basketball camp, and it had Trae Young. It had all NBA players on. When they were real young. And this guy was like,
it's like a beach picture.
Yeah. And the guy in the comments was like, coaches will still tell you that they just wanted it more. it's sports Twitter, man. It's undefeated. But when we look at Wisconsin's schedule, the Big Ten, I told you this as well before, but the Big Ten is just one of the more weird conferences because you never know who's going to be good or not. I mean, Indiana last year, Michigan
State had a 2-year run that no one could have thought, and it has fallen off the face of the earth.
And you just never know who's going to be good. Like, I could see Northwestern last year, conference championship. Penn State, you never know what you're going to get from Penn State. They face Notre Dame. We know Notre Dame's going to be a pretty good team. They're going out. They won't have Ian Book this year, but we know Notre Dame is a pretty good team. So it's going to be what?
What is your prediction for this team?
My prediction for this team?
Yes.
Maybe I'm going to go with 2 losses. I went with
3.
I'm going to go with the loss to Notre Dame, and I'm going to go with a loss to Northwestern.
This is the troubling part.
That's the troubling.
Because it's a Big Ten team.
You never know how good these teams are going to be. I'm going to go with the loss to Notre Dame and a loss to Northwestern, which is only one Big Ten loss, which gets them to the Big Ten championship, where they'll probably lose to Ohio State. I think Graham Mertz is definitely a good quarterback. We saw that last year, and I think he'll be able to make this team. I think he'll be able to expand this team a bit, but I still don't really see them improving in a way to where when you face Ohio State, Ryan Day is not going to have that team ready for you. And we know how dangerous Ohio State's going to be because Ohio State doesn't need to rebuild. They just reload. And we see that now with their quarterback situation. Exactly. And then they just got one of the highest ranked quarterback recruits of all time with the
Quinn Ewers.
So, and he's going to be there early. So he'll be on the sidelines watching.
I think he's there right now.
Yeah, he is there. So that NIL too. He's like, look, you can stay in school and finish here, He's like, nah. I'm leaving now, so I can go ahead and sign that. You know what I'm saying? So I can get my contracts running. But, like I said, Ohio State doesn't rebuild; they reload, and I think Wisconsin's setting up for.
Luckily, they don't have to play them in the regular season. That's lucky.
That's a good thing.
That's a loss that won't be on your record for the regular season.
So I mean,
personally, I had them going 9-3. You said losses to Notre Dame and Northwestern.
Yeah.
I have losses to Notre Dame, Penn State, because I just feel like Penn State will bounce back next year, and Iowa. Iowa's always a good team. I don't know what they do, but Iowa's always a good team in the Big Ten.
Penn State with what quarterback?
In Big Ten play, that is. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know that quarterback. I just have a feeling that Penn State is going to be back next year.
Graham going to pull it off. Graham going to drop a 40 bomb on Penn State. Don't do them. It's at home, too. Come on. First game of the season, 12 p.m. Come on, man. You said what?
The teams are questionable, bro.
And Penn State's losing. Penn State lost a lot of defense last year. Micah Parsons is gone. Come on, Graham's about to drop 40 bomb on them boys. They're not worried about. They're not scared of that. Come on.
Okay.
Notre Dame is going. I think Notre Dame will handle them though. Notre Dame will handle them. That's in Chicago, and then I think Northwestern's defense will contain Graham enough to get the win, and they still make the Big Ten championship, where I think they'll lose to Ohio State. Which I think is fair.
A loss to Ohio State.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they may lose more games because, like I said, you never know. I know Nebraska's not going to be good. Minnesota, you never know what you're going to get from them.
Michigan.
They play Army,
who knows what Michigan's going to do? Michigan's always bad and then good and then good and then bad and then bad and then bad and then good.
That Michigan game is interesting, but I think I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I think they finally got like an actual good quarterback.
Who?
Like Shea Patterson was great.
Shea Patterson was not great.
It's a number 5. He's number 5, I think. I think that's what his number is. I don't know who it is. I've heard people talk about him like he's a great quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna roll with the flow. I was like, hey, they have a good quarterback.
I'm gonna do some research on it. I got to see who this Penn State, or Michigan,
maybe we talk about them next week.
Yeah, maybe we might have to talk about Michigan. That might be the problem with the Michigan Wolverines coming soon. Maybe, I don't know. But this has been Sports Junkies on the Wisconsin Badgers. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Anything we missed, bring it up. Feel free. We're always ready to interact with our fans and guys in the comments. Make sure you subscribe today to become a junkie to get more information. Yes, we're not desperate, but we are desperate. We're trying to hit this 200.
We aren't desperate, but we are.
We are. We're trying to hit this 200 subs. So make sure you guys subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.